We are back with another Stablecoin Spotlight. We're here with Kaleb from Bitwave. Before we get started...
Did you say the best Stablecoin Spotlight?
This will be the best.
That's what I heard.
I hope. We'll see.
That's what I heard.
But we're going to start this episode with probably the best dressed man on the street here. Let's just quickly cameo this guy. Zoom in if you can. Look at this jacket. This is what you get. Okay.
I'm Kaleb, VP of Marketing at Bitwave. The best way that I can explain Bitwave, say you are the CFO at who makes this sweatshirt, man? What's the name of this company that makes this sweatshirt? Because it's absolutely fantastic.
Stable Studios is our business.
Studios. Say you're the CFO at Stable Studios.
Should I cameo it?
You should cameo it, absolutely.
Stay stable.
This is a terrible example because you, as the CFO at Stable Studios, you know what a stablecoin is, right?
Yep.
Like, you know what digital assets are. But say you were a Web2 consumer clothing retail line, and suddenly your hotshot, digital innovation officer comes to you and says, "Hey, we're going to launch an NFT line. We're going to hold digital assets on our balance sheets." Suddenly, you as the CFO at this Web2 company, you have two key problems.
I'm getting 2022 flashbacks right now.
You have two key problems. One, what the hell is a digital asset? Two, how do I actually work on this? What does this actually mean for me in my everyday business, right?
Yep.
So Bitwave, we bring your on-chain transaction data, whether you're holding those digital assets, whether you're transacting them, whatever you're doing. We bring that transaction data into your existing compliance process. So we'll bring that with a native integration from your blockchain, from your wallet, all the way into your ERP system like QuickBooks, like Oracle NetSuite.
And you've been with Bitwave for... This is not you've been here for a while. You've worked with Pat and Amy and team for many years.
They're fantastic. So Pat and Amy are the co-founders of Bitwave. Bitwave's been around since 2018. My 2-year anniversary is today.
Wow.
Yeah. My very first day starting with Bitwave was 2 years ago. We had a booth here at ETH Denver. I walked behind the booth to help out with everything. This is my first day. And I remember just being in complete awe, watching Pat and Amy just going at it, just spilling all the best news to all these people who are really looking for something like Bitwave.
I hear they don't have a full-time primary residence. They just sort of jet set around and go to crypto conferences. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're largely based between SF and Tahoe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When you guys think about stablecoins and the accounting stack around that, Bitwave from an accounting standpoint and integration standpoint, you guys have seen a lot. This is not a new business. You guys have been innovating with companies large and small. Yep. What are your thoughts on everything that's happened with stablecoins, the payment landscape? Is that, I'm imagining, you accelerated the business. What's your take on that?
It's 100% accelerated. I think it's also presented both a challenge and an opportunity. And so I'm going to give a fun little statistic here for you. Did you know that Bill.com, 65% of its estimated revenue comes from transaction fees and comes from float on customer interest? That is a massive, massive amount whenever you think about the total amount of revenue.
So float on customer interest, that means I'm paying you and I'm going to make that process slow.
Exactly.
Bill.com or whoever is going to be in that transaction float.
Exactly.
And in the process of that,
they're making money on that float.
Do you know what the float, how much of that 65% is float versus transaction fees? Do you know?
I think it's about 15% of that 65% that's coming from float. The rest is coming from transaction fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Majority is coming from transaction fees. So let me put it this way. So if you think about Bill.com took in about $1.3 billion worth of revenue in 2024. If you think about how they generated that revenue, so we already talked about two key models: transactions. So those are the BIPs, right?
Yep.
Float on customer interest, which is the most egregious. Let's go back to that.
Okay.
They're also charging a SaaS model, right? Because if you're a customer, you want to pay your customers using Bill.com, you're going to pay your SaaS subscription fee. Totally down with that. SaaS business is valid. Bill.com should be able to charge that. They're also charging a one-time transaction fee on top of all those other fees. And surprise, if you as the payer, if you want to pay that transaction and you want it to go a little bit faster than it did the last time, you're going to pay a little bit more too. So they're essentially 4 chunks of the apple that a company like Bill.com is actually taking from all of their payers. That is a massive, massive opportunity.
What does that actually equate to? If I'm, let's say that I'm using them,
Yep.
I'm going to receive an invoice for our business, which we
Yep.
do.
Yep.
I'm going to go bill a client to pay me
Yeah.
my client retainer. And let's say they pay me, just for example's sake, $1,000.
Yep.
How much of that 1,000, all with those 4 parts in, typically would I have to pay to Bill.com?
As the receiver, you're not really paying that. It's coming from the other side.
My client would be paying it in a fee?
No, actually, I guess I misunderstood you. If you're receiving payment, you're not paying that. But if you're sending the invoice to your client,
Yep.
you are going to be taking. It's a significant amount. I don't actually know what the specifics are of what they're charging there. But in totality, the real problem here is that all of those fees do not exist in a vacuum, right? And so if you're talking about a company, let's take like a traditional Web 2 company, a company that is spending a significant portion of those payments on fees, those fees are then trickling down to everyday consumers like you and I, right? It does not exist within a bubble here. Stablecoins absolutely disrupt all of that. We all know the benefits of stablecoins, right? But let's just kind of break this out specifically here. So when you don't have, or when you have near instant settlement times, suddenly that float, that customer interest, suddenly that no longer exists because there's just no opportunity for that. When you reduce the intermediaries, you're also reducing your transaction costs as well. So there is a ripe field for disruption here. What we need to do is figure out how do we get more enterprises not necessarily excited about it because I think there's a lot of that already initial momentum. We need to get the compliance and the finance teams on board with making sure that stablecoins are operating within their compliance protocols, and that's exactly where Bitwave comes in. So you mentioned earlier, Bitwave has worked with a ton of enterprises. We built an enterprise audit-ready financial stack.
Yep.
That ties in very, very well here for this need that enterprises have. So I think what we're seeing here is businesses want to transact with stablecoins, or at least they want to explore it, right? Like they're starting to get turned on to the opportunities here. What needs to happen is they need to feel comfortable. So like your CFO at a Web 2 company, they need to feel comfortable about making sure that when they pay in stablecoins, they're going to be able to report that back on the back end, that the IRS is going to be totally okay. They're going to be able to understand, when they go out for an audit, they're going to be able to understand exactly what that all means. So that is what Bitwave does. We are facilitating that end-to-end flow, and we're making sure that financial teams are comfortable with making those stablecoin payments. So we're really enabling stablecoins for enterprises.
Incredible. You guys, to do that well, have to integrate with a lot of different products.
Yep.
Are there any, maybe this year, any things ahead or integrations or use cases, clients that you're excited to roll out in the coming months?
Can I share some alpha that's not even out yet?
This is why we ask.
It's coming out tomorrow. So Bitwave is hosting Onchain B2B Payments Day here at ETH Denver tomorrow. It's a full day. We're bringing together hundreds of CFOs, financial operators, CEOs. We've got Deloitte on stage. We've got PayPal on stage. We've got Anchorage. We've got Google Cloud, and we've got Alio. All coming in to talk about like great names, all people who are leading the industry here. We're announcing tomorrow the Bitwave Payment Network. And what that means is we are starting to match both sides of the payment cycle. So we've got payers on one side, people who want to pay, people who want to send invoices. We've got people who want to receive invoices. We are making a matching service essentially to make sure that if you as a payer, if you want to send stablecoins, we want to make sure that you very quickly understand who's actually ready to receive those.
Yep.
And then if you're a vendor, you want to receive faster payments. We're matching those two sides of the equation, right?
So when you own both sides of the transaction, a lot of things can become possible.
We are facilitating so Bitwave is non-custodial. We are facilitating those payments.
Own is the wrong word. When you when you can orchestrate both sides.
Words matter. Words matter.
Words matter.
We're facilitating the payments between the two, and we are making sure that if you are a payer and you want to send stablecoins, if you are a receiver, a vendor, and you want to, or the other way around, if you want to receive stablecoins and you want to send them, we are making sure that you have the ability to find each other, and we are facilitating those payments end to end.
It's incredible. Well, we're going to have to wrap up here.
I love it.
I know that there's so much more to talk about. Is there any final thoughts around Bitwave, this conference? Anything top of mind for you on the marketing side?
Find us at bitwave.io. Find us on LinkedIn. Find us on Twitter. Thanks for having me, man.
You got it, man. That was your Stable Spotlight with Bitwave. Thanks for watching.